She will match yours because the comparison to her age, which is the summary.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anjanesh. I work with the Ashmolean in IT. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for inviting me. To put this into context, I think it's just a bit fair that we should go back a few years when I just joined the Ashmolean. As usual, I was looking for places to stay in and around Oxford, and in one of the searches, I came across a lovely lady. Let's just call her Mrs. E. And looked around the house, beautiful thatched house, in a village that shall remain unnamed. Nice cats. I like the cats, actually. The highlight of the conversation was she literally walked up to me and tapped me and said, "What are computers doing in a museum?" I wasn't sure. Here I was just, raring to go, start work in the university, in the museum, and, do stuff. Should I be offended? And I was like, okay, I should start defending my post and all that. So a lot of stuff happening. If I had an opportunity to say to my 2009 me, that would be this presentation. IT, or generally technology as such, doesn't just start in the museum or end in the museum. It starts well before the museum. You have a visitor, hypothetical visitor. You can be the visitor. We are all visitors, actually, in a way. Starts off well before the visit. You research on your websites. You find what's going on. You find places to eat. You probably look around the other museums. You probably look around the city. And then as an additional step, you probably look around on Facebook as to say what people are saying and look around social media. This is probably the primary step. And for those who want to take a bit more deep dive, I would think apps might be a way. You just go a bit more, be comfortable with them. Depending on your platform, even no platform, just go online and just do the web app. The physical part starts literally at the door. As Deck was saying, numbers. The physical people counters are a thing. It really is. So it can be as simple as beams going straight to the door, getting cut off by people. You just get a rough count. Or you could have cameras that actually are sophisticated enough to detect people versus prams or baggages or groups of people. That's how we get these numbers. These are collated, analyzed, and as you saw how important this is. And then the visitors walk through the galleries. They are immersed in the wonderful objects, the ambience. What they are also not aware of, probably, is the fact there's a lot of stuff happening in the background. Within the required parameters, you get air conditioning. Thankfully, estate's problem. Within the required parameters, you have air handling units operating. This is usually taking care of the visitors. There's also objects to be taken care of. Dehumidifiers. I'm sure our colleagues, conservation colleagues, would be more than, they've got far more better idea of this. Lights. Software-defined lighting is a thing. And if you've seen the recent example, light switches are so 2013. As we move forward, it's going to be quite interesting. By law, legally, we are required to keep logs of how objects are maintained. And again, conservation, they're highly clued up on this. All of this happens in the background. The most obvious ones in the galleries are probably your screens. They could be touch screens. You could have non-interactive screens, which provide static displays on rotations. You could also pick up audio guides. These are the traditional audio guides or your interactive ones. Projectors in the galleries, different interpretations about the museum, about the gallery. And then, depending on who you are at this point, you could also use the Wi-Fi network to enhance a visit. As Deck was saying, the commercial aspect of this is quite important. So as in the case of a visitor, you could always have a moment, go into the shop, look at the objects, items on sale, and then make a purchase. Tickets, all of this actually constitutes a very, very, very brief summary of a visit experience from an external perspective. As staff members, we are probably more aware of the commodity items that we deal with on a daily basis. Computers, iPads, whatnot. What we also tend to forget, the phones are becoming increasingly technology heavy. The newer phones are actually having little operating systems. In future, the very near future, you would find numbers following you, whether on computers, on your iPads, or your mobiles. The phones are going to be different. Our objects, of course, they reside in the databases. Depending on where you work, you could be using Museum Plus, you could be using KMU, or you could be using FileMaker Pro. These, going back to how these are run, we're quite aware of the commodity items. What we are not aware are the kind of unsung tech that stays in the background. Servers and other gear. Well, the very brief explanation for a server is like taking 20 computers together, stack them horizontally, squash them together, and you get a computer that's 40 times powerful. That's just about the definition of server. Now, all this data, all the storage is no good if you can't move it around. So the rest of the stuff is actually built around this. Going back to 2009, if this question was asked again today, I think, do we go around saying each and everything? I doubt so. No, probably not. I think the best way to put it is technology, in a sense, starts from well before the visitor starts from even thinking. It enhances the visit while they're in the museum. It often leaves a good positive experience after they left the museum, and it sort of feeds back into a loop, which Deck was saying again. Bring them back, bring more people back. However, in this new age, we also have the visitor-centric model, where we take the museum to the visitor, we learn from the visit, and we sort of enhance our own visit. So these are the very basic interpretations. Now, regardless of how this works or how anything goes on in these two different angles, it doesn't really matter. Technology is invisible, and it should be that way. I think, in a way, it isn't just technology. It's like most of us here. Our work, our tools actually reflect this philosophy. If what we do is invisible, it means it's really true. It's the best compliment we could ever receive. And I think, going back to Mrs. E, I think the question actually is the best compliment. Thank you very much for your time.